Business ethics practices are vital because they build trust, protect brand reputation, and ensure long-term financial success. Adhering to high moral standards helps companies avoid costly legal penalties, attract top talent, and secure loyal customers. Business ethics involves the moral principles guiding companies and individuals in the business world. These principles go beyond legal obligations, establishing a code of conduct that promotes trust and integrity at every level of a business. By understanding and implementing effective business ethics, companies can enhance their reputation, foster customer loyalty, and achieve long-term success. Business ethics dictate the moral principles guiding corporate behavior, while laws establish the minimum standard of acceptability. Failing to maintain ethical standards regularly crosses into illegal territory, leading to catastrophic lawsuits, crippling fines, regulatory investigations, and severe damage to a company's long-term market viability. So what are some of the key legal implications of unethical conduct? Fraud and deception. Misleading investors or consumers, even in the absence of a written law at the time, often violates consumer protection and securities fraud statutes. Deception is the act of misleading someone by hiding the truth or telling a lie, while fraud is a specific type of deception used illegally to gain money, property, or an unfair advantage. Employment liability. Unethical treatment of staff, such as discrimination, harassment, or retaliation, directly violates civil rights and labor laws, inviting expensive litigation from both employees and government agencies. Ethical employment liability refers to an employer's moral and legal accountability for workplace practices that affect the fair treatment, safety, and rights of workers. Environmental and safety violations. Neglecting safety or environmental stewardship in pursuit of profit frequently breaches mandatory pollution, waste disposal, and occupational safety regulations. Environmental and safety violations are breaches of official laws and rules designed to protect nature and worker health, covering improper waste disposal, unsafe working conditions, and missing safety gear and devices. And intellectual property theft. Using uncredited work or improperly sourced trade secrets violates copyright, patent, and trademark laws. The unauthorized use, copying, or exploitation of another person's or company's protected creations, ideas, and proprietary information. Key forms include copyright infringement, trademark violations, and trade secret misappropriation. There are generally 12 business ethics principles that are commonly recognized. They include leadership. The conscious effort to adopt, integrate, and emulate the other 11 principles to guide decisions and behavior in all aspects of professional and personal life. Accountability. Holding yourself and others responsible for their actions. Commitment to following ethical practices and ensuring others follow ethics guidelines. Integrity. Incorporates other principles, like honesty, trustworthiness, and reliability. Someone with integrity consistently does the right thing and strives to hold themselves to a higher standard. Respect for others. To foster ethical behavior and environments in the workplace, respecting others is a critical component. Everyone deserves dignity, privacy, equality, opportunity, compassion, and empathy. Honesty. Truth in all matters is key to fostering an ethical climate. Partial truths, omissions, and under or overstating don't help a business improve its performance. Bad news should be communicated and received in the same manner as good news so that solutions can be developed. Respect for laws. Ethical leadership should include enforcing all local, state, and federal laws. If there is a legal gray area, leaders should err on the side of legality rather than exploiting a gap. Responsibility. Promote ownership within an organization, allow employees to be responsible for their work, and be accountable for yours. Transparency. Stakeholders are people with an interest in a business, such as shareholders, employees, the community a firm operates in, and the family members of the employees. Without divulging trade secrets, companies should ensure information about their financials, price changes, hiring and firing practices, wages and salaries, and promotions are available to those interested in the business's success. Compassion. Employees, the community surrounding a business, business partners, and customers should all be treated with concern for their well-being. Fairness. Everyone should have the same opportunities and be treated the same. If a practice or behavior would make you feel uncomfortable or place personal or corporate benefit in front of equality, common courtesy, and respect, it is likely not fair. Loyalty. Leadership should demonstrate commitment to their employees and the company. Inspiring loyalty in employees and management ensures that they are committed to best practices. An environmental concern. In a world where resources are limited, ecosystems have been damaged by past practices, and the climate is changing, it is of utmost importance to be aware of and concerned about the environmental impacts a business has. All employees should be encouraged to discover and report solutions for practices that can prevent damage. Business ethics matters for many reasons and on many levels. Some important ones include building trust. Ethical practices form the foundation of long-term customer loyalty and positive brand perception. It relies on core principles like transparency, accountability, and fairness. Risk mitigation. Upholding high standards helps companies avoid costly lawsuits, public scandals, and severe reputational damage. It requires clear frameworks, leadership accountability, and continuous monitoring to prevent legal, financial, and reputational harm. And talent retention. Employees are more likely to thrive and remain loyal in inclusive, supportive, and honest work environments. This is accomplished by fostering trust, transparency, and fairness in the workplace. When organizations prioritize strong ethical behaviors and accountability, employees feel valued and secure, which significantly reduces turnover. Unethical behavior in the workforce is not restricted to overt acts. They are actions that violate moral principles, deceive stakeholders, or harm consumers, employees, or the environment for financial gain. Common categories include consumer exploitation and deception. It happens when businesses use unfair practices, hidden fees, or false claims to take advantage of buyers. This occurs because sellers often have more information than customers, leading to an imbalance of power in the marketplace. Examples include false advertising, making exaggerated or untrue claims about a product's capabilities or failing to disclose vital product information. Bait and switch, luring customers in with an advertised bargain, then aggressively steering them toward a much more expensive alternative. Hidden fees, slapping undisclosed, mandatory fees on top of an initially advertised price, such as event tickets or airline bookings. And predatory pricing, setting artificially low prices to drive out smaller competitors, then jacking them up once a monopoly is established. Workplace abuse and labor violations. They cover harmful or illegal actions by employers or coworkers. They include wage theft, denying employees due pay, forcing off-the-clock work, or avoiding overtime compensation. Unsafe conditions, ignoring safety regulations to cut costs, putting workers at physical risk. Discrimination and harassment, creating a toxic workplace culture or making personnel decisions based on gender, race, age, or orientation rather than merit. And exploitive labor, using child or forced labor in global supply chains to reduce manufacturing costs. And corporate malfeasance and governance. Corporate malfeasance is an intentional, illegal, or unethical act committed by corporate officers or executives that causes harm, whereas corporate governance is the system of rules, practices, and processes used to direct and control a company. They include such things as embezzlement and fraud, falsifying financial records or misusing corporate funds for personal enrichment, bribery and corruption, offering financial incentives to public officials or business partners to secure contracts. Misused information, mishandling user data, selling customer information without consent, or failing to protect sensitive data. And environmental harm, polluting, improperly disposing of toxic waste, or violating environmental protections simply because cleanup fines are cheaper than ethical disposal. Unfortunately, businesses violate ethical principles all the time. Here are some real-world examples of unethical business practices. Volkswagen's Dieselgate, where the company installed software to cheat emissions tests while marketing their vehicles as eco-friendly. While the issue was initially flagged in the United States covering about 500,000 vehicles, Volkswagen ultimately admitted that roughly 11 million cars globally were equipped with the defeat devices. The Enron scandal involved executives hiding massive debts and inflating revenues to boost stock performance. When these accounting maneuvers unraveled, Enron filed for what was then the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. Similarly, WorldCom, a dominant telecommunications and internet infrastructure giant, surpassed Enron's bankruptcy just months later when a massive internal audit uncovered staggering fraud. Management reclassified over $3.8 billion in standard operating expenses as long-term capital expenditures to artificially inflate the company's net income and meet Wall Street expectations. The true fraud total ultimately grew to roughly $11 billion. And Wells Fargo account scandal, where aggressive sales quotas pressured employees to open millions of unauthorized accounts in customers' names. Employees opened roughly 1.5 million deposit accounts and applied for over 500,000 credit cards without customer knowledge. A best practice for an organization is to implement processes for mitigating legal risks. To avoid severe financial and legal ramifications, companies should build robust ethical frameworks that ensure accountability at every level. Common risk mitigation strategies include whistleblower hotlines. Implementing anonymous reporting channels drastically cuts down on internal fraud. Whistleblower hotlines protect organizations by allowing employees and stakeholders to securely report misconduct, such as fraud, harassment, or safety violations, without fear of retaliation. By catching issues early, these systems reduce legal risks, lower financial fraud losses, and foster a culture of transparency and trust. Ethical audits and training. Ensuring that teams are regularly trained on compliance and moral decision-making. An ethics audit evaluates your organization's ethical climate, policies, and procedures against established standards. Coupled with targeted ethics training, this process helps companies mitigate legal risks, protect their brand reputation, and foster an environment where employees feel safe reporting violations. And corporate governance. Holding leadership to high standards to prevent insider trading and executive misconduct. Corporate governance and ethics are the systems and moral principles that guide how a company is directed, managed, and held accountable. Together, they align management with stakeholder interests, mitigate financial and legal risks, and build long-term trust and transparency. One way to employ an ethical commitment from the workforce is through a code of conduct. A company code of conduct is a foundational document outlining the ethical standards and behavioral expectations for an organization. It serves as a practical roadmap to prevent misconduct, minimize legal risks, and build a positive, accountable workplace culture. A robust code of conduct typically includes leadership message. An opening letter from the CEO emphasizing the company's commitment to its mission and values. Ethical business practices starts at the top, as does standard setting and reinforcement. Core values. The guiding principles that dictate day-to-day decision-making and business practices. By laying them out in the code of conduct, they become clear and enforceable. Furthermore, it must be explicitly said what the consequences for failing to live up to the company's value system will be. Workplace respect. Strict zero-tolerance policies regarding discrimination, harassment, and bullying. Additionally, there must be mechanisms for reporting violations. Conflict of interest rules. Guidelines on how employees should manage direct or indirect personal interests that could conflict with their professional duties. Confidentiality and data protection. Protocols for safeguarding proprietary information, intellectual property, and client data. And compliance audits and reporting. Audits to verify compliance with company standards, as well as clear, step-by-step instructions for reporting suspected misconduct without fear of retaliation. Business Ethics Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs, are step-by-step instructions that ensure your company's daily operations comply with legal regulations and moral principles. They translate broad ethical codes into actionable, repeatable, and auditable employee behaviors to minimize risk and enforce compliance. To build a robust ethical framework, businesses typically implement SOPs in the following core areas. Conflict of interest defines how employees must disclose personal, financial, or familial relationships that could compromise professional judgment. It outlines a step-by-step process for submitting disclosures and recusing oneself from decision-making. Anti-bribery and corruption details strict protocols for giving and receiving gifts, hospitality, and corporate entertainment to ensure all vendor relationships are based on merit rather than inappropriate favors. Whistleblower and incident reporting provides a clear, step-by-step reporting mechanism, like anonymous hotlines or reporting portals, and protects employees from retaliation when reporting unethical behavior. Data privacy and security instructs employees on how to handle sensitive client and proprietary information safely, requiring routine audits and confidentiality disclosures to prevent data breaches. And non-discrimination and harassment outlines the exact procedure for filing and investigating workplace discrimination, harassment, or hostile workplace claims to maintain a respectful, inclusive environment. Employing business ethics practices in the workplace is vital because it builds trust, enhances employee retention, and protects the organization's reputation and long-term financial success. We hope you found this training video valuable. Please give us a like and click the subscribe button to access additional FSTG training videos.